Hello, everyone. I am Dr. Reverend Ayse Hogan. I am the visionary and founder of IAUSM. IAUSM is the International Academy of Universal Self-Mastery, where we collaborate with several mentors from all over the world, mentors and experts and coaches from all over the world, and create an academy, a community where there's a lot of interaction and where we can help people step into what I call their remembrance and reclaiming their mastery, their self-mastery of who and what we actually are. And so Awesome Kitchen Table that we do on Clubhouse every Thursday morning is really about opening up various topics to give you these wonderful aha moments and strategies and tips to be able to step into this 5D world that we're moving into. So before I get into today's topic, I'd like to move through the IAWSM mentors that have joined us today and give them a chance to introduce themselves. Hey, Jules, how are you?
Hello, Ayse, and everyone listening. Patricia, Dr. Dave, so happy to be here today. My name is Jules Hares, and I am an embodiment facilitator, transformational embodiment facilitator with the IAWSM mentors here. And my great love and passion is working with people that I like to call growers, and helping people who want to get to know the language of their body, want to dig a little bit deeper into all of the amazing resources that are already within us, but we don't necessarily know how to activate and how to encourage and how to embrace so that they can expand into what we are truly capable of, each and every one of us. I've been inspired by working with all of these mentors and collaborating and being immersed in many experiences with my clients, as well as with teaching experiences and learning experiences, which are all one and the same, that have allowed me to be able to hold a space for others, and that remind me of our capability of being able to hold a space for one another in our own potential, and with that amazing awareness that helps one another, all of us, to help each other thrive. So I am so happy to be here today. Thank you so much, Ayse, for having me, and I look forward to all the great conversations that, just with the little faces that I see here, I know that we're going to have amazing conversation today. So thanks.
Awesome. Thank you, Jules. That's an amazing intro. Love it, love it. Patricia, please tell us a little bit about you.
Hi Ayse, hi Jules, hi Dr. Dave, hi Melinda, hi the world, hi everybody. I am here tuning in from Wales in the UK. My name's Patricia Maddalena. I am an international speaker, best-selling author and therapist for nearly 20 years. Can't believe that it's nearly 20 years. I founded 3 businesses and I help run 4, including IAWSM. And I have 3 children, full power beings. And it's an absolute honour to be here. Thank you for having me.
Dr. Dave, please, let's hear about you.
Good morning, everybody. Dr. Dave Hillis here. I am coming to you from the east side of Michigan in the USA. I get to play with all the cool kids. I keep saying that, but it's really important that I keep reminding myself that I get to play with these folks, with all of our passions, and we bring those passions to what we get to do every single day of our lives is helping folks become the highest version of who they choose to be. It is it's such a great honor to work with all of these folks, and I love that I get to call them my friends and our IAWSM family. The stuff that we get to talk about, and just because we're chatting, whether it was like our version of a campfire or just like we are doing here today, talking around the coffee table. Oh my goodness, I couldn't imagine if all of these wonderful beings were actually in the same physical space at the same time. I swear that we would probably like disrupt grids or something. I have so much love for these folks, and I'm so honored to be able to get to be here with you guys, and being able to talk about some really super important things and offering our tools that we see it from our professional roles, so that other folks are able to maybe take a look at it, that they might change or adopt some of these new things that we happen to talk about, and it aids in your wellness and bringing you more joy. Thank you guys so much.
Thanks, Dave. Thank you so much. And yeah, you're so right. I'm gonna introduce Melinda for a second, but we had just a text message conversation, Dave and I, yesterday, and we're like, oh my God, this could be a talk show. Like it was like we just got on a roll of stuff that we were talking about. It was so
It
exciting.
was so
So
good.
yeah, I mean, it was so good. So we were talking about McDonald's actually. So it was so good, and it was just about really understanding that, yeah, it would be so awesome to find out what it would be like to have all of us in one room talking about these subjects, like in a physical space, would be like incredible, I think. And now I want to introduce Miss Melinda Asztalos. I never say it right. I know I'm not saying your last name right. How am I saying that, Melinda?
Melinda's good, just Melinda. I'm just kidding. Melinda Asztalos. So thanks, Ayse, and thank you, everybody. It's really an honor and pleasure to be here. It's so much fun listening and being part of these conversations. I work as a intuitive energy facilitator and a high impact life coach. I've been doing this for over 13 years. And yeah, I can't not do it. It's like something I love so much. If I had millions of dollars in the bank, I would do it anyway because I love it. So it's a really big privilege for me to do what I do. And what I help people with is to really empower them to know what they already know within the wisdom of their own heart, to really get them to see that empowerment and for them to really shine and to release all the paradigms and programs within their physical body, emotional body, mental body, and to really allow themselves to step into the greatness of them with way more ease than they thought possible. So that's a really good, fun thing for me to be doing. And yeah, I'm here in Canada, and I have a nice 18-year-old daughter, really wonderful kid, truly amazing, and yeah, very privileged life of being able to do what I get to do every single day. So thank you so much for the opportunity for being here. It's a great pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. So you guys are amazing. Like, I just want to put that out to you guys. Are just like truly amazing. Today's topic we're talking about is the global stress sheath. Now, when I put this topic out to every single one of the IAUSM mentors, the message that came back was, what are you saying? Like, what is that? What is a sheath? So we're going to talk about that a little bit today. So I want you to imagine for a moment that you are like, you can see the earth from space. And I want you to imagine that you can see the atmosphere around the earth, completely encompassing the earth, almost like this big white, like this cloud that encompasses the earth. Okay, so just keep that image in your mind while we are discussing this topic today. So the earth and all of its existence is inside this atmosphere, so to speak, the sheath. Okay, it's a covering. And all of our combined fears and stress actually creates another sheath. So now we've got the atmosphere, but we're going to create another covering. And that covering affects all of us on many, many levels: mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually. And think of stress like a collective shadow. Like, it's the shadow that it's not just my stress and it's not just your stress, it's everyone's stress, creating this sheath, this covering, the skin around the planet. And it's generated by every human on this planet. And it's connected to our environment as well. So when I say our environment, I want to take that a little bit deeper too, because I'm going to use the word environment in a different context. I'm talking about our personal auras, right? Our personal space, our boundaries within each form, avatar, body that we're in. And our aura is our environment. And it's being affected and conditioned by all the other personal environments responding to this global sheath of stress that's caused virtually by the entire population of the planet. So our auras, depending on our mood, and I'm just going to give you a little bit of an aura 101 for those of you joining in or listening and not really clear about what an aura is. So I'm just really going to do this on a very 101 basic level because we don't have enough time to really get into it. But our auras, depending on our mood, our feelings, our emotions, our state of being, at any given moment can expand or shrink around us. So think of this bubble around you that can expand or it can shrink. And it's an energy generated by you, and it emanates the real you, regardless of how you pretend or hide your emotions. So if you're really good at hiding your emotions, it doesn't matter because it's going to show up in your aura. So you might be able to fool me, but energetically, there's no fooling energy, right? So your aura will be exactly as it is. It's the real you. So every living thing that requires oxygen to survive has an aura. And this aura is in a magnetic energy field around your physical form, and it surrounds you like an electromagnetic bubble. So that's aura 101 for the purposes of this conversation today. So disease lowers one's energy and therefore weakens the aura. And when we live in a state of fear or stress or worry and all the negative emotions, our aura shrinks. It becomes closer to us. And of course, the reverse is true. If we live elevated, full of compassion and love and gratitude, our aura will expand. So what does that shrinkage and expansion kind of look like in an imagination world? So let's think about that. You've got this bubble around you that can go anywhere from 6 feet or 2 meters to 62 feet or 22 meters. And in some cases, even further around you. So the more elevated you are, the more expanded your aura becomes. That, you start heading out to at 62 feet, the 22 meters. Or if you're in a very negative state, it comes very close to you and it shrinks. Now, auras don't have a hard shell. So what that means is, it's not like a hard-boiled egg, where they just bump up against each other. They're actually intertwining with each other. So now we've got this population of billions of people on this planet where all of our auras are intertwining and connecting with each other, which means we can actually start to sense or feel other people's emotions. We're catching signals from them without knowing it. And if they're in a very low state, we're actually picking up on that as well. But we don't know that. We think, each person thinks that low energy frequency or vibration belongs to them. They don't understand that it's because it's this sheath, this covering that's being created by everyone on the planet. So our DNA is also affected by frequency and vibration. So every energy, including stress, it's an emotion, it's an energy, it has a frequency and a vibration. So most humans are being affected by this sheath on a very subatomic level, right? Very deep inside of us. It's affecting our DNA, it's affecting us. So today we're going to hear from these amazing IAUSM mentors and experts who are going to not only comment of what I just shared with you, with their opinions, their thoughts, because, I am not the be all and end all of all knowledge, although I like to think I am. How do we rise above the sheath? Because we can. We don't have to stay connected to that covering. We can rise above it. So we're going to talk about some strategies, some techniques, our thoughts. We're going to share some comments about this, because as we move into a 5D world, we still need to be able to function in the 3D. So we want to step into 5D, but we still need to function in 3D. So, which means we do have to deal with this sheath. So there's two ways. I'm just going to mention these two things, and maybe you fit into one of the categories, the people who are listening. One way that you might notice that you're in this sheath is that you feel stuck. Right? You feel emotionally, mentally like you're collapsing under the pressure of life and you can't seem to move forward. It might take you into a depression, right? And once you've allowed yourself into this state of being, it can be a little tough on your own to And sometimes it feels impossible to escape that, but you can. Places like IAUSM, people like our mentors can help you do that. Nothing is impossible. You are without limit. So the second way that you might feel this is being restless. You can't sit still. Basically, you're attempting to escape your reality by just being and doing busy, right? So if you're doing busy, you're hiding your own fears, projecting and blaming others, being angry, frustrated, and this state is overstimulating your adrenal glands. And that will actually cause damage to you over time. So this is what we're going to be talking about today. It's a big topic, but it's something that I think that everybody needs to be aware of. I think you need to really be conscious of this in order to be able to step into your mastery, right? To be able to step into your mastery. So Jules, I would love to hear from you first on this.
Hi. Wow. What a great description, first of all, as far as I was trying to do other things for a little bit, and I thought, oh, no, I need to be fully present and listen to exactly what's happening here, because when you paint pictures like that in my mind, it's always so much more powerful to just soak them all up and be fully present. Something you said there about the compression and that energy of that sheath, that collective stress just pushing on us. We often think of that as being really bad, but it is also so very powerful. I often use this analogy of growing sunflower seeds. I don't know if you guys have ever grown sunflower seeds before, but when you're growing sunflower seeds, you need to have a layer of soil, and you put the sunflower seeds in the soil, of course, just like growing anything else. But what sunflower seeds need, especially when you're growing them indoors, is they need a lot of weight on them. They need pressure. So you put a tray on top of them, and then you put actual bricks, like bricks that you'd use to build a building, like heavy bricks on top of these sunflower seeds. And if you don't, they grow weak. They are not colored properly. They don't know which way is up and which way is down. But when they grow with that weight on them, and I imagine that weight as being that sheath, this collective stress, when they have this thing to push up against, they will actually push those bricks up. And it's phenomenal to see. And when you were saying that compression, it's like, yes, all of this stress is forcing us to have to grow. And it's forcing us to grow by actually pushing us down into the ground, by making us, look at the shit, or looking at the stuff that we have already worked through or that we're trying to ignore, and it's bringing it up to the surface. It's making us stronger if we are willing and ready to embrace it and engage with all of the wisdom that those past experiences, that fertilizer has provided. Because if we're not, and we get compressed, then we feel depressed because we're pushing even more against our old reality that we really don't want to engage with, and that we're being forced to, unearth. And I think the huge difference for me, and what I've noticed in therapy and in myself as I look at my own inner wisdom and inner children and continue to embrace all the mistakes and the growth that's come from those mistakes in my past, is that the more I engage and love those parts of myself, the more powerful and the more energy I have to grow. And that sheath is really just, it's helping us, but it's really easy to see how, if you don't know how to access that help, or you don't know how to engage, how defeating and how it can make you feel so disempowered.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love that. Yes. And I love that you're using the seed, because also the one thing with that is, it's the germinating. When we plant something, it needs time to grow. We'll talk about that a little bit later too, because we're in this world of we need everything now. And that's also causing us a really big problem and stressing us out. Patricia.
Hola. Yes, we are walking, talking antennae. Each day we're soaking up and spilling out energy moment by moment, if we're unconscious about it, from that collective sheath that you've just so eloquently talked about, and also the individual sheath, from the people we pass by in the street, our families, our work colleagues, to the various energies, bouncing out of the computer screen as we're scrolling by on our social media channels. We're soaking it up and we're spilling out that energy moment by moment. And I have kind of 5 different ways of transcending that, transcending that kind of negative sheath, if you like, that I like to do depending on different situations that might be happening, to help protect my energy, to transcend what's happening, to kind of be the common denominator in the room and kind of pull that energy up into a more positive vibration. And yeah, there's kind of 4 or 5 different things that I like to do to help me with that. One is to put my own sheath up, my own energy shield up, or cloaking device, if you like. I like to put something that encircles my entire body. It's got a special filtration system in it that can pick up information as normal. It lets me detect kind of the negative vibes, lets me decide whether or not I would like to soak that up or not. If I want to pull in just kind of the positive energies from people, then I'll just allow that to happen. But yeah, I like to deploy, one of the things I'd like to do is deploy my cloaking device so that I am not soaking up or spilling out my energy as I'm maybe walking up a busy high street or going into a very busy supermarket, which can make me sometimes, if I forget to put my cloaking device on, it can make me feel a bit blasted and a bit kind of, full on. I don't know if you want to know any of the others. I could go through them.
We might want to do that. And I want to mention something about the cloaking device before I move over to Dave. And I think the biggest question that everybody always asks me when it comes to that protection or that cloaking is that, how do I know it's there? Like, how do I know? Like, when you teach them how to put it up and it's not that hard, it's more of an intention. And then how do I know it's working? And the one thing that I always say to everyone about that is that the minute you start to question your protection, the minute you start to think, well, am I really protected? I don't know. The minute you start to not know this as your truth, you will be breaking down your cloaking. So you just have to put it there, be firm about it, and just know it to be the truth and that it is there. And not question that. I know we've had talks about, the power of the question, but then there's also the flip side of that, of not knowing the power that you are. So just saying, you know what, it's there, I put it there, and this is what the rules are, these are my boundaries, this is how it's going to be, and then just know that that's it, and don't question it.
I think one of the main ways of someone knowing whether or not it works is how they feel after the event. So if they're going to a party or they're going to a supermarket or somewhere where there's going to be a lot of energies around the place, and they might be feeling a little bit vulnerable right now and they want to just protect themselves, practice and play with putting your cloaking device up one day and how you feel when you come home, to not putting it up and going to the same place and then coming home and seeing what kind of energies you've soaked up. Have you come home with a headache? Have you come home with a bad back? Is this even yours? So one of the good questions that I ask if I'm walking down the high street and I'm suddenly get a headache, is this mine? And I get the resounding yes or no. And if it's not, I thank that energy and send it back to be transmuted, that I no longer need it. So it's about becoming self-aware and how your body, how your mind, how your emotions feel after the event, with your cloaking up or with your cloaking down.
Awesome. Thank you, Patricia. Thank you. Dr. Dave.
Wow. Jules, thank you so much for bringing that. I don't grow anything, well, plants and things. Let's just do that. I had no idea that's fascinating. Like, I want to get a sunflower just to be able to be part of that process and grow. A little late now, but oh, that was so good. I love that. Phenomenal to be able to know that, because we do. I mean, how many examples? That's why actually what it sent me off and thinking about how many examples in nature do we have that there has to be pressure to make it become the best that it is. I mean, everybody knows how. Well, okay, so most folks know how a diamond, is made. And same principle is that it has to be under such intense pressure. And the same thing. I mean, even down to a chicken, they have to push against, the shell to break out of it. And then we have, the caterpillar that uses that force to be able to get outside of the cocoon to be able to blossom even more in its evolution. For us as humans, I think that that's one of the things that, not even I think, I know that one of the biggest challenges that I've noticed and worked with clients as of late, and especially in our younger crowds, that their coping strategy has become so minimal. They aren't equipped with adequate ways to be able to work through and get to the other side of stress. And it's become this epidemic, really, to me, is what I'm seeing. That is that any amount of stress or anxiety is a red flag for folks. And it's super sad that I've seen and watched these folks, because that guy in my massage practice, I had the opportunity to be able to work with a ton of athletes. And the kids they had this mindset that the first inkling or twinge of stress or anxiety, that it was this big red flag that there's something wrong. And they now labeled themselves having an anxiety disorder. I'm like, wait, what is appropriate amount of stress? What is an appropriate amount of anxiety? If there's a tiger or a bear chasing you, I'm hoping that you have a shit ton of anxiety and stress, because you need to get your little butt moving. Otherwise you're lunch. So it's if that's appropriate, but then if you have that kind of stress or anxiety, bring that into a classroom because you have a test that just got dropped down on your desk in front of you, and you bring that kind of same reciprocal energy and anxiety, that's not necessarily appropriate. You're not going to die potentially if you don't do good on this exam. So gauging that and helping them realize what's appropriate and what's not, that is so, so important, because we need to have those things. And just like that, like Jules was talking about, is there is amount that of stress, of inertia that needs to happen for us to grow and continue on. Otherwise, we are super, super weak. Um, and to me, that's one of the passions that I love working with a lot of the kids. And so I'm so privileged to be able to go in and work with a psychology class at one of the high schools every year. And that is one of the biggest things that we do, identifying that, talking about that, and then giving a strategy on how they can address some of those things and some different tools to then look at what is appropriate, what isn't appropriate, and then what a tool is appropriate for that. How can I feel about this? And if any of those things are completely off base, then I know that there's other folks that I need to talk to get a better idea of how to handle and what to do about it. That's it for me.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah. Stress it can be, you've got to be able to determine what is a useful, useful stress and, not useful. What's negative, what's going to help you, what's not going to help you. Melinda.
Hello, everybody. Okay, so wow, such good insight and tips. I love the way you guys are so calm and you're talking, and I get so excited. So just imagine if your reality is made up of these waves and these particles, and they don't actually take form until they're actually impacted by the energy of your thoughts, your words, your actions. So what if we could change the way that we think, the way that we are creating? So our thoughts really impact our emotions and the beliefs that we hold around those thoughts from the images in our mind. So when these images are viewed by ourselves, the images that we hold in our mind, the thoughts, the feelings, emotions all combined, they basically magnetize this into this particle field, basically. So what that means is there's sort of you're connecting to this morphogenetic field, this field of that holds form together, and you're literally projecting with your visions, which are governed by your belief system, and this starts to manifest as your reality. The problem is that these images that we're projecting into this quantum field is drawn from pre-existing references that we hold in the databanks of our human mind. And these images have been planted in there by old things that have happened in past lives, in our physical past, from culture, from parents, from all these different things. And so they're now part of a really old and limiting program. So this is what we're projecting outwards, first of all. And this is also being, in our auric field. This is also something that we're contributing. So there's two parts. There's what we're receiving in, which is what we're aware of in as we're intertwined with the auric fields of everybody else. But there's also what we're projecting, which also affects everybody else. So that's a really interesting thing, because as you raise in consciousness, you are contributing to the collective. And you don't even have to you don't have to get on a soapbox and preach or do anything. Being the truest version of you makes a deposit into the collective field, thereby sort of creating like a little bit of a ripple, a switch. So if there's all this dark, goopy mass, and then there's this light pulsing, you're starting to actually create something different in this sheath, which is pretty extraordinary if you can think about it. And yes, we do have that capacity. So one of the things is that you can't really change something that's not yours. So our energy obviously is a collective energy, as we all have been talking about, and it's also an individual energy. Rising above this stress energy might seem really impossible, because we've decided if we feel it, we are it. So I'm suggesting, what if we went beyond the feeling of it? And this thing that with stress that we perceive in this auric field, if we slightly resonate with that energy, let's say you're walking in a mall or somewhere and you perceive a particular energy that you would label as negative, or we would label, okay, this is not feeling good in my body. Instantly, like in a nanosecond, these things happen in a nanosecond. We recognize, oh, I'm perceiving this energy. Now, if we have a little bit of in us, we are going to grab a hold of that energy that we receive around us and make it dynamically ours. So that's why we've devised these cloaking, these different devices to start to learn how to differentiate what is yours and what is coming from this energetic soup. So instead of going to the question with it, like we're not really trained to do that, we now have this locked into the body. And we spend our energy trying to handle something that's not actually inherent in your truest self. So you can shift your energy and you can create change when you truly believe that you can switch the energy. So if we perceive this stress and we take it in, we have to get really present. And that's the thing, because these, like I said, these things, when you think of something, when you perceive something, when you feel something, in a nanosecond, your mind takes a hold of it and it starts negotiating and dictating what this actually is. But it's doing this from a very limited space, because your mind does not have all the information. So what if you were present enough to ask, okay, hold on a second. I'm perceiving, I'm walking through this space, I'm walking in this old museum or somebody's house or whatever it is. What is me in all of this? What is my energy? Okay? What is my energy? So homogeneous, this homogeneous thing of this whole, like we are one business, homogeneous is not unity consciousness, from my opinion. Unity consciousness is one thing, like the collective, and homogeneous is just a melting soup, which is like a collective, like a drone mentality. So we're moving, as we're moving up this spiral, as we're learning how to raise our vibration, which will help us get out of this stress energy, we're moving to become sovereign beings within a collective of sovereign beings. We are the one, we are the many, individual and collective, not a soup that we're all this one melting pot. So can we function from this space? So true receiving, really being able to receive, we really want to get used to receiving everything, all of life, with ease and joy and glory, all of it, without a point of view, without it sticking us and collapsing our aura, our zone. So true receiving is where you really allow yourself to be contributed to by the universe. It's where you can get to a place of being fully present with what's in front of you, all around you, and not having a judgment or opinion about it. You are aware of the energy. So instead of in that nanosecond you take it on, you have to react or resist or agree and align. If you're not allowing yourself to be trapped in an energy that you feel that you've now decided is sticking you. So one interesting exercise might be, and I invite everyone who's listening to try it, just give it a shot. It doesn't take, you can do it even as I'm speaking, expanding your awareness, expanding your zone. Let's imagine it's a fish bubble around you. Again, expanding your zone, and imagine that you are becoming like a sieve, allowing the energy to flow through you and not stick to you, to give you enough time to ask, what is the gift in this? What is me in all of this? What is my energy in all of this? And is this energy that I'm perceiving actually mine? And the moment that we say that I feel not well, I feel this negative, I feel, when we start doing this and we claiming this, whatever we're doing this, like again, in a nanosecond, we start to take this into our body and we make it our problem. You cannot solve something that doesn't belong to you. And what happens when we do that, you collapse your zone instantly, and it gets tighter and tighter and tighter around you. So as you expand your energetic awareness around you and become like a sieve, you start to release the resisting and reacting, or the aligning and agreeing, and you are just present, dynamically present with what is in front of you, without labeling it, defining it, and just recognizing it. This is an energetic frequency that's in front of me. Is this going to work for me? Is this something that is going to be fun for me to play with? Am I just going to want to observe it? What do I want to do with this? What is this energy inviting me to? What is this challenge that I'm being faced with, this stress energy that I'm aware of? What is this actually inviting me to in this moment, in this right here, right now? And one other thing, sorry for taking so much time, one other thing is, if something feels heavy in your body, if it goes funk, there's a lie there. It's not actually true for you. Anything that is heavy is a lie. It's not the truth at the core of who you are. So we want to ask the question, what is the lie here? Spoken or unspoken? Energetic or otherwise? Is this old reality? Again, is this reality, is what I'm perceiving part of the old reality? Is it time for this to change now? So we get into that PTSD auto response system with this stress energy. Is this old reality? What is this inviting me to? What can I create that's different in this second? And that is usually an interesting way to become very present with what is occurring, so that now each time you're faced with a similar energy, you now are able to use discernment, and instead of working really hard each time you do it, it now becomes a pattern. It becomes something that you are used to, something that you're used to doing. Most of the things that we experience in our lives, or we think about, or we function from, it's not even language, it's energetic. It's all energetic. And so if we can start to recognize this and become awake in the face of it, then we can absolutely change it.
Wow. If you ever say, and that's my 2 cents again, Melinda, I swear. Okay. So if people are aware of, if anyone who's listening, so there's a few things I want to say with, oh my gosh, there's so much to say. Okay. So number one, there's the protection, sort of the bubble protection around you in crowded spaces versus what Melinda was talking about, which is the sieve. And, you know, I practice both because I find that sometimes I need to have the bubble depending on where I am, and other times and what I'm doing, and other times I want to be the sieve and just let things flow through me. And I usually go with how I'm feeling in that moment. Like, I don't know how a lot of people who are listening are when they notice they feel very pressured. Like if I walk into a mall, I feel like I'm choking. So that's just something that happens. I usually have to go to a mall on a Monday morning when nobody's there. And if I go when it's busy, I feel very choked. So I feel that during that time, the bubble is the ideal thing for me in that moment. But living on a day-to-day basis, just my normal life outside, I am always in sieve mode. So it's sort of deciding which one of your tools you're going to use and how to implement these tools. The very cool thing too is to, you know, we've talked about all the growth that we can get from stress, and which is amazing. And there is also a gift that that Melinda started touching on here, and that is, you know, if anyone understands the gene keys, stress is the shadow of the 52nd gene key. Our gene key is also known as a gate in human design, and it is actually one of our strands. It's out of our 64 strands of DNA. It is the shadow of the 52nd strand of DNA. And the gift of that is restraint. So you think about restraint, and that usually sounds like something like pulling yourself back or holding yourself back, and it's really not that. What it is it's patience. Right? Now think about the pressure we were talking about, the compression to grow and that pressure to grow. And now we're restraining ourselves in a way of patience. Restraint is patience. It's patience and it's understanding, right? So if you want to sum up everything that we've been saying, it's also understanding, it's having patience, it's allowing things to grow. You know, we've used some really great analogies and metaphors here, and one of them I like to think about is also, you know, giving birth, right? You know, you conceive an idea, a thought, and now you're pregnant. You conceive this, and that happens in all parts of our lives, projects that we do, ideas that we had. Growing IAUSM, I really learned what it was like to not conceive properly. So conceiving does not mean that the very next day you will now have a baby, right? So it needs to grow. It needs to have that time to germinate and grow and get its nutrients and everything that it needs to be able to expand. And once that pressure of, like, you know, comes, and now we're in contraction mode and we are now giving birth to this baby. We understand this for some reason in things that we can't control, like planting a seed. Like, we know that it takes 9 months to have a baby. We know certain things take a certain amount of time. But when we have an idea for something that we want or desire, we add to our stress because we want it now. And the conditioning that we've been conditioned to in this world is that everything is instant gratification. We do accept, however, that you can't have instant gratification in certain things. But actually, it's everything. So we should not be looking for instant gratification in virtually anything. It should all have that time and that patience and that understanding, and to feed it and to allow it to grow in its own time into being what it needs to be. Because when we rush it, or when we pressure it, or when we are under high stress or worry because of it, we end up in many cases crashing it. So it's more than just our own ideas and things that we need to have restraint about. It's also understanding, like Melinda was getting into, like we've all gotten into, is about, is this mine? Is what I'm feeling mine? Because we are part of that collective sheath, right? So is this what I'm feeling mine? And you can't hide from it in your house, because auras can go through walls. So it's not like, oh, if I stay home, then I won't be part of that. It's not true. So, it's also like, use the example of, if you're in a metropolitan area, you might feel more stress, more compression, more worry, more negative emotions than you would if you were in a rural area. That's why I always feel so good to go to a cottage or something, because you're kind of away from this blast of everybody's aura. You're still in it, but you're just not in the thick of it. So there's a lot of things to consider when you're going through this. What part of this is good for me? What part of this is not mine? When, is it time for a sieve? Is it time for, the bubble of protection? Is it, and it's just using your awareness and listening to your body and understanding what's yours, what's true for you, what's going to work for you, what's not going to work for you, and what works for you might not work for that other person, and that's okay. And that's okay. And it's such an amazing topic. Like, even when I brought it up that I was going to talk about this today, like, I know we could go on about this for hours, but it's what tools can we use? How can we be real with ourselves and understand and be aware that everything we feel is not ours? And what part of that can we control? And are we showing restraint? Are we being still when we need to be still? Are we riding that wave of stillness, or are we always, come on, give it to me now, I need it now, right? So it's where are you in that journey of whatever it is you're going through in that moment? And what part of it is for you? What part of it isn't for you? And asking all of the appropriate questions, which Melinda just gave us a handful of those, to help you get through that piece, right? And if you could bring this into your life a little at a time, noticing the difference that it makes for you, right? Jules, I'd love to hear from you on this too.
Well, you touched on so many things there, and my brain heart got highlighted several times. But one of the last things that you said there, Ayse, was about bringing back Melinda's idea of that entire what is mine and what is not. And for me personally, we moved from busy city in Kitchener-Waterloo, Ontario, in Canada, to small rural fishing village in East Coast Canada, in New Brunswick. And when people reach out to me and talk to me about having made this huge shift, I say, you know what, it's really amazing because it feels peaceful here, because there are more trees than there are people. There's probably even more forests here in New Brunswick than there are people. It has the exact same population as my old town, Kitchener-Waterloo, in an entire province. And with that comes this beautiful integration of every time you walk outside, instead of walking into the auras of other people and all of their stuff, and everything they're projecting, and then everything you're picking up on, you're picking up on the auras of nature, right? It already has a beautiful matrix. It's already well-defined in its beingness. And so that beauty of just being, and like you mentioned with the gestation period. There are times we are completely okay with just being. We accept that. It's out of our control. And other times it's not. So what I like to do when it comes to kids, because I work with a lot of kids and adults, but I treat the adults like kids because, adults like to play too, right? I bring them and their awareness into their bodies and just ask them to tune into their bodies and recognize what is their home frequency. If there was a home frequency, maybe it's a color, it's a sound, it's a smell, it's a taste, it's an image, however it shows up, multisensory. And just tuning into that and letting that show up. Whatever that is, just honoring that's their home frequency. And then bringing them into an awareness, whether it's in the room or in their imagination, imagining they're somewhere. And when it gets to be a little bit bigger, when they're sharing that space with somebody, maybe their family or just in that specific room, what that feels like to expand their awareness into that space and noticing their home frequency within that bigger space and how that energy plays. And then expanding it to maybe being in a room with several people, or like you said, Ayse, a bigger space eventually, like the mall, where you're integrating with a whole bunch of other people. And how, and just accessing the internal wisdom of the body, how does it want to stay home while still creating this beautiful interplay with all of these energies around it. And it's always so different, but it's always so potent and so powerful to regulate, to create, like you said, Melinda, that discernment of knowing, oh, that's me, and that's not me. Oh, I know that's not me because it doesn't have any essence of that home frequency. And that could be like little dots of flecks of gold. It's like, oh, come on back to the center, gold. Ah, there we are. Okay, we can be here now. And obviously everybody is different with that, but it's a beautiful tool to just recognize, oh yeah, there's me and then there's other people. And I have the tendency, a lot of us, to just want to splay myself everywhere, spread my fairy dust, and be in every nook and cranny that possibly exists, instead of actually being integral to that center. So I really love this conversation and everybody's unique take on it, because way more reflections equal a more powerful picture of what works for each of us. So thank you so much, you guys.
Awesome. Dr. Dave.
Awesome. Fantastic examples and metaphors and things for everybody. I really am very hopeful that there's something for everyone to be able to hear in this conversation about the same topic, because of how many different variations that all of us are able to bring about the same type of topic. And it's just, man, is it good stuff. When I'm teaching energy modalities, regardless of what kinds, it is super important for us to be able to recognize what is ours and what isn't. And if we haven't then begun the journey of defining what it is that we are, where our energy is, where it isn't, is there anything leaking, the auras, any of that type of learning and management of that, then we're going to be hemorrhaging energy. And then we're also, at the same time, we're going to be inundated with so many other outside influences if we haven't set those parameters so that we're able to deal with them efficiently and appropriately. And so we can't begin, as the students going into an energy modality like Reiki, we can't begin to think that we can influence a change for healing if we don't even know what's inbound on our energy. From a metaphysical perspective, in our energy fields, illness or dis-ease within the body, when it is manifested, there's a study that showed us that it is at least 7 years in our auric field that we have opportunities to be able to work with it, change it, and master it before it becomes a physical manifestation of that dis-ease. In our Eastern philosophies, there are so many, most I would say, teachings in philosophy is they have so much attention and awareness and priority on learning and understanding that energetic field, uh, because it is so important. And here in the West, we do the opposite, um, where we wait until something becomes a physical issue, and then we think we need to look at it. This just popped up. I need to go see a doctor about this. No, it didn't just pop up. It's literally been in your energy for some time because it was an emotional imbalance or something that was happening that your human vehicle had its indicator light on and you chose to ignore it and tape over it so that you don't see it. And then now that it's not working any longer, we think we need to then address it. So we have to make sure that we are super aware of ourselves, our energy, what we're are in our field, our bubble, our auric field, so that we can better understand what's happening to us, because then we can then decide whether or not what's out there is appropriate and I can work with it, I can manage it, and it is okay for me. So I I get super frustrated when I hear folks saying that they're super sensitive. I can't go into a mall. I can't do this. I can't watch the news. And I'm like, oh, that's because you're sloppy. You're a sloppy and lazy energy person. You don't understand that you have the ability to do that. And oh, let's do that. Let's figure out how we can help you with that because you have the power. So if you're at a higher frequency and vibration, you should be the one that is watching the TV or the news so that you can help be part of the change or the shift if you so want that to be part of your journey. Yeah, I can't wait to hear what everybody has to say about this. Back to you.
Well, clearly I'm the sloppy, lazy one because I refuse to watch the news. So yeah, I refuse. But that's okay. That's a personal
Yeah,
choice. I, you
yeah.
know,
And I purposely lobbed that one out there just because I knew it was going to have some reaction. But people go like, "Wait, what?" It's intended that way because it should take us to go like, "Wait a minute," and you should posture like, oh. And so we can look a lot deeper into that and what it really was that is, because it was so important what you just said, Ayse, is that you make a choice that you prefer not to be in those spaces. That is completely different than I can't, because I can't is a survival statement. I choose is an empowered one. And you
right.
used I choose. So that's not lazy whatsoever. That's you commanding your spirit and saying, yeah, no, I'm good. I don't want to be in that. It's not for me. That's not lazy. Rock on.
So great stuff today. I want to honor everybody's time today, or space. I hate using the word time anymore. Everyone's space today. And I'll give everybody a chance to kind of sign off. The one thing I'll say is that, listening to Dave, the image of the Borg, I don't know if you guys have watched Star Trek, but the Borg came into mind. And it's, do you want to be a part of the Borg? It's a choice. Or do you want to be a part of a collective where you have awareness and consciousness and can decide and make choice for yourself without any outside interference. So, and being able to distinguish between what is Borg consciousness and what is your own, and making the decisions that feel right in your body. And if you choose to be a part of the collective Borg, that's a choice. However, that choice may or may not help you, empower you to grow, and become an individual in this experience that you're in right now, in this avatar, in this form. I don't know. It's amazing to me. It's like anybody who wants to be a part of the Borg, like, what are you thinking? But that's my opinion, and that's my choice not to be. I love the Borg. I'm stuck with the Borg right now. Okay, so in wrapping up, I'm just going to say, make a choice where you want to be, and a conscious and aware choice and being present is your first step. to rising above a collective sheath that may not always be in your highest and best interest. Jules, oh, sorry, I'm going to go to Melinda. I missed Melinda. Melinda, what are your sort of last thoughts through this?
Oh, you caught me off guard. I was like, where are you going with this? I got really entranced there when you were talking about the Borg because I love Star Trek. Yeah, I would just say, you know what? You got to make a choice every single day. This is not a quick fix. It's not going to be like, oh yeah, I'm going to do this thing. I'm going to put a bubble, or I'm going to expand, or I'm going to do this, or I'm going to do that once, and it's going to be all good. It's something that you have to actually choose every single day, so that you can start to change the circuitry and the neural pathways that have created this resist, react, align, and agree mechanism that keeps you in this eternal loop, this sequencing system that doesn't allow you to break free from where you are at the effect of this energetic sheath that's around you. No, we raising that vibrational frequency and just turning up the dial. And I love what Jules was saying about, what is my home frequency, and turning the dial up on that. But you're not going to get to know your home frequency if you just tune into it one time, and then you try to go to it when you're in a panic. Trying to do any new tool when you're in a panic isn't going to work, because you've already decided that this thing is bigger than me. I can't do it. This is going to go back into this old paradigm, and that huge monster machine that's running in the background is going to just drown you. So every single day, practicing, even with small things, practicing a tool and starting to get the energy of, what is my home frequency? What is the gift in this? What can I do to change what's showing up in my world? Can I practice expanding my zone? If I expand my zone, if I expand my energetic frequency, well, what shows up? Do I feel lighter? What's the difference between heavy and light? Start doing this every single day. Don't wait until you're in the middle of a crisis, or you're in the middle of an energy that hits you with this intense, stressful frequency. And when we start to do that, moment by moment, piece by piece, you start to build upon that becomes stronger. You become more confident in your capacities. And the first time, second time, third time, you're able to notice a shift. You'll be like, this is actually working. And now we have a different point of view that's starting to come into play. And now those seeds that we're planting are going to start to grow into the mighty oak that we will be much more comfortable sitting underneath, because it's beautiful and calming and anchoring. And it is our tree. This is our beautiful tree that contributes to the rest of the collective consciousness. And this contribution, when you can start to overcome certain things, and when you can start to create change in this way, you are depositing that peace, that relaxation, that difference into the collective. And there is your light shining, creating a different possibility for the whole world. Isn't that cool?
That's super cool. Super cool. And I love all that. I love everything you guys have to share. Like, I have to just do a blanket of love here, because there's too many points that I love. And I love the indicator light on the dashboard. I love the sunflower seeds. I love, everything that we've been sharing has been amazing. Jules, any last words? Any last words for not forever, just for this conversation?
Yeah, let's not put that out there. I guess the last thing that jumps up for me, and I know that I think it was Dave who just said, swooping metaphors, is the power of those metaphors, that indicator light, that tuning in daily, because you're practicing. When you said that, Melinda, that you don't start trying to use your tools when you're in a jam, right? It's like, if you're a plumber, you don't have your entire toolkit, and then all of a sudden go, oh, I got to figure out how these tools work right now, when there's water spurting in your face and and you're in an emergency situation. So the importance of just laying it down, like you said earlier, Ayse, just being one day at a time, putting a little bit of practice in, and remembering that little bit of a practice is going to add up incrementally to you trusting in your own self, in your body, in your confidence in what you're capable of. And I can't reiterate that more. My meditation practice, when I first started, I was like, ugh, not noticing much of a difference. I don't know if I'm doing this right. All the things our monkey brain likes to jump into. And now that I've been doing it for years, it's like, oh, I am not the same person if I don't put a little bit more energy and attention and intention into myself. And so remember, it might not feel like much at the time, but it's that muscle we're not used to building. But when we build it, we can feel its strength, and it's there to support us when we need it. So that is my my last but not forever last words.
And they're amazing words. I love them. That's right. You know, it's like cumulative. It just keeps building and building and building. So yes, taking baby steps, and before you know it, you've gone a very long way. So that's amazing. Dave, any last shares for this topic?
Yeah, I'll be quick because I know that we need to wrap up. And thank goodness that it is not the last words that we get to hear from Jules, because one, the words are always great, but then if she sings, oh, even better. So if to put it's kind of exactly what everyone was talking about, and this is something that I would like to share really fast about it was my very first lesson when I began my emergency medicine career. Is our chief said, the thing that you have to get and has to be part of your being, your knowing, is remember it's not your emergency. If I need or want to be the paramedic on scene and make a change and help, it's not my emergency, because then if we put emotion into that, then we're going to be less effective or ineffective at all at the situation of the crisis that's happening. So first, if we just ask that every single time when we get a different variation of feeling or thought or energy download, ask, is this mine? Is this my emergency? If it's not, then what is it that I can do here and be part of? Help, whatever that is that you choose, because it's a very different seat when you're asking, is this my emergency? And if it's not, that means I can do something to help and not be part of the crisis. I'm part of the rescue team, however that needs to be and what that means for you. So thank you so much, everyone. I love you all so, so much, and for sharing your light. I am so blessed to be able to know all of you. Thank you.
Just when I think, Dave, you've done all the metaphors you can for one topic, boom, you hit us with another one. I love that. Is this my emergency? You know, and how effective can we be if we start owning everybody's emergencies? Absolutely. So good. So good. Thank you, everyone, for sharing everything that you've shared today. And, you know, I really think that next week, what I'd like to talk about, and I'm throwing out there, is, you know, how do we live 5D in a 3D world? You know, we are transitioning, but how do we straddle both those worlds comfortably? So we'll be talking about that. And thank you all amazing IAUSM mentors for joining us today. And I will see you all soon. Thank you, everyone.